All right. Gift masters in real life in Arizona. The birds are even so excited about this piece of content. They're chirping in the background. So let's get to it and talk about gifting.
Gifting.
And the first thing that I actually want to dive into is you're in a different space. You're in the L&D space. It's completely different than probably most people are in here. When it comes to gifting, how do you think about it and how are you taking action on it?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. So, I've been with OpenSesame for about a year and a half, and the buyer is completely different. He said it's L&D, so that's learning and development within the HR space. And typically, if you're marketing typically to more tech savvy, engineers, marketers, anything like that, I feel like there's a little bit of a playbook, but in the HR space, especially in L&D, like there's not, right? And gifting is really unique. Even the smallest touch point can make a big difference.
Yeah.
But it has to be the right type of touch point, because we've learned lessons, made A/B testing and trying new things that not all of the plays that I've experienced with marketers or marketing to more tech savvy people, it doesn't happen the same way with L&D. It also is different within the different seniorities. So like we sell typically to middle management, right? So an L&D manager, they're often a team of one, maybe a team of two, if that. But there's not a ton of buying power. They have to bring in their C-suite. But if we're speaking to the C-suite, it's completely different, and the gifting has to be different. Things like we tried out a gift experience for like, hey, like let's do a cooking event. It's cool, right? Like, okay, like, yeah, we're going to get a
That's
chef
awesome.
in. Let's do a cooking event. We have this target account list. And we started it, and we got like 2 bites out of like 40 accounts. It's like, what is happening? Like, we know these are engaged accounts. And we learned from that like, it's so important to know your persona, because while we were targeting our direct buyers, these are folks who are typically in office, really busy, really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They don't have time after work that they want to go and cook and do which is
Probably
very
not.
right. It's very
Yeah.
different than like maybe a C-suite, like, oh, that's a fun experience, a wine experience. So like that worked better with that level, but we had to like really think about, okay, what not only like how is your persona a function, but like how does gifting tie into like what their lifestyle is too, in a way, right? Like what does their typical day look
So
like?
how are you tapping into that without being creepy?
Our customers, like understanding our customers and having like, thankfully we have an amazing customer success team, and that type of feedback. So learning that like we made the mistake of not asking them first.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
That
So
happens.
like
It happens. So cool. That's cool.
so it's like we could have
You recovered.
we could have avoided it, but like learning from them of like, hey, actually like they're talking, like we have a very like high touch customer success, and learning from them, because if we already have that relationship, it's not creepy, right? Like we can already be like, okay,
it's okay.
oh, it's like, oh, we need to talk to them midday because like they have, they're off at 5, they're leaving, they're at home, they're going home to kids, right?
Yeah.
So like being able to like have that and have that same like what we learned from them and apply that to our prospects.
That's important. One of the most important things I learned about content or just understanding your customers is understanding their psychographics.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about the demographics, but the psychographics, and for context, that's essentially like, what are their psychological behaviors? What are they actually doing outside of work? Because they obviously have another life. They're not just working all the time. And so I like that you brought that up. So let's go into good examples of that and bad examples of that.
Yeah.
So let's go into like a great example of like you personally got a gift and you're like, this is great. And then like a bad example where like, this was the worst. And then we'll wrap up there.
I'm going to start with the worst.
Okay, we'll start with the worst.
We'll start with the worst.
You flip it. You flip it.
And I'm not trying to be negative.
Oh, no.
But I don't have a lot of great ones. Okay. Most of them that I receive, they're not terrible, but they're not memorable. Like, just to be really honest, like, the last 10 minutes before walking up here, I'm like, well, gosh, what gifting has really been memorable? And there's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Right? It's really been usually like experiences. So where it's like I'm either I'm gifted a ticket to an event, or been able to like join like a wine tasting. Again, they know that persona.
Yeah,
that's my psychographics. Yeah, you're gonna invite me to a wine test.
Yeah, I'm all in.
I'm there. But a lot of actual like swag, physical gifting, not great. The one thing that I really there's one that I have really enjoyed, and it's the ability to choose. So like the choose your own adventure options. So where it's like it's like, hey, thanks for whatever the touch point is, but I've got like a link to be able to say, all right, here are 5 or 6 different gifts. You choose which one that you want, because maybe they haven't done enough research yet. But again, like I do have a lot out there that you can probably learn from,
Yeah.
but I do like the ability to at least like choose rather than like some type of branded swag coming to the door.
Yeah. Choose your own adventure. I think that's really critical. I think that's probably like one of the biggest stands out we've heard from most of the interviews that we've done today. So I guess what are good examples of when that's happened for you?
Oh, one was, and we actually ended up stealing it, and it worked well for our audience too.
It was great. I'm about to steal
too.
It
was one. So went to a webinar that was focused on AI, and afterwards,
Shocker.
Yeah, I know, right? What AI? But afterwards, the gift option that they sent, it was like, thanks for joining, and they tied that to campaign messaging around tech in the future, and all of the gift options were like tech focused. So it was like a special wireless charger, some special headphones. Like they were all like tech options. So it tied, like while it wasn't AI specific, it tied to that same theme. And I thought that was really a unique way of like making that touch point part of a greater campaign and greater messaging.
So I love that. Last quick question. This is quick fire. All right. So you gotta be on the spot here. So ready.
Let's go.
You're ready. Let's go. So you've been to a lot of events. Yes. What is the one item that every single booth should start having that they currently don't?
I'm cheating and saying something that's specific to where the event's at.
Okay.
So if you're doing
I agree.
If you're doing it in Arizona, if it's during the summer, some sunscreen is good. Maybe some sunglasses. Right?
Sunscreen and sunglasses is a win.
Straight
here.
Up. Yeah. If you're doing it in Vegas, maybe some hand sanitizer. Maybe
maybe a bath.
No, but I do. I think, or maybe like
you actually need a cleanser, right? Yeah, a heavy Tylenol and Advil.
But no, I think I think it's like like it can be very simple, but specific to where you're at having the event at. I think 100%. It's really important.
I agree. Awesome. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for hanging out in the desert here, and giving some amazing best practices. And hope to see you next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone.